Edit. Whoa. Thank you for the silver. Story 1. My grandfather did this. After 40 some odd years of marriage and 7 children, he surprised my grandmother by divorcing her because he thought he was going to connect with their 30-year-old neighbor. Unfortunately for him, it turned out the neighbor was just being polite when saying hi to him every day and didn't actually secretly want to leave her husband for a 70-year-old retiree. Now he's lonely, single, old, and no one cares. Even the pretty neighbor moved. Such a shame. Story 2. 16 years later, I still regret it. It may have never worked, but I never gave her a chance to find out. She was a really great person, and I am foolish for doing that to her. Story 3. Had a fraternity brother do this. He was going off to Germany and wanted to be able to play the field while there. Nothing happened while he was there, and he regretted it. Story 4. It went well, then it went badly, then well and badly again. If you are meeting beautiful, interesting women, it is a blast. If you are not, it is boring, lonely, and you always miss the best one. Story 5. I don't recommend it, unless you are possibly interested in feeling decades worth of regret, mixed with this nagging feeling in the back of your mind that every woman you are with just doesn't quite come close. But hey, perhaps that's just my experience. Story 6. Surely regret happened. I was 23 and we'd been together since we were 19, so I hadn't gotten to enjoy being college-aged or whatever I told myself. Furthermore, I wanted to party and have fun, and she was more of a walk through nature and read a book kind of girl. She held every person, from the president to a homeless man, as equally valuable until proven otherwise, and could write off anyone or anything she didn't need in her life at the drop of a hat. She was adventurous, compassionate, and kind, entirely down to earth, sassy in a fun and funny way, never cared for money, and strove to be a good person every day. Anyway, long story short, I left. I met and slept with a good number of women I was really into after that, which is what I thought I wanted. Before her, sleeping with someone new was the epitome of excitement. It felt fulfilling and successful. But every time I had sex with someone new since finding love, each encounter left me feeling emptier and lonelier. So now I guess I'm a serial monogamist, chasing love with different women in the hopes that one day I'll feel as fulfilled as I did once, with that independent little bookworm from my hometown. 5 years after leaving the only girl that ever mattered, I still think about her most days and nothing has felt the same. At the behest of you fine people, I found a way to reach out to her today, but I don't plan to tell her about this thread. I think we'd both prefer any healing to happen naturally instead of stemming from this emotional conversation between all of us. Breezy, if you happen upon this, I swear I'm not the person I was right after I left, and I'll never be that person again. Thanks for never sharing pictures, statuses, or info about your life with guys since then. That was inordinately kind. Thanks for being a massive part of who I am today. If you never want to see me again, I totally get that. I miss you all the time, but some things are too precious to simply glue back together. I just want you to be happy. We talked at length for the last few days and got caught up. She's happily living in Germany with her boyfriend of more than 3 years while she accomplishes most of what she always said she wanted to do. It's very strange to feel so happy for someone and also so completely torn apart. Great to hear from her, but just as much feels like cutting open a scar that had almost finally healed. To everyone else that's gone through this, I know it's difficult for men to find someone to confide in. I know that we have no one to blame but ourselves for our mistakes. You're not alone. You're going to be okay. Story 7. Absolutely terrible. I broke it off almost a year ago to the day. I recently told her that I was sorry, and she responded that she is happier now than ever. Story 8. We are back together. Met her at a point in my life when I just wasn't ready to commit. Broke it off and she moved away. I dated actively for a few months, tried more serious dating, but I always missed her. She moved back to the country, we got in contact, and now we are together. She is moving in with me in a couple of months, and I plan to propose later in the year. Hope she doesn't know my Reddit name. Story 9. It went well for the first weeks. Then I realized how big of a mistake I made. Then it all came down, and now almost 1.5 years later, I still regret it almost daily. It's always in the back of my mind. I have a more than okay life and meet quite a few interesting people. I also spend more time with my friends, but I still think she was the one even though I'm only 27 and she's only 23. We are also on good terms, I'd say. She has a new boyfriend and keeps inviting me to hang out with her, but I just can't do that and try to be polite in my responses. But I wish she'd stop contacting me every couple of months. I hope she feels the same way one day in a few years and maybe thinks of me. Lesson learned, I guess. You have to live with it and learn from your mistakes. Sometimes I feel I'll never be in love again, but I know that's not true. When you naturally break up with someone, you know things were not working as expected, so you can heal over time. When you break up with someone you love for a stupid reason, you're essentially giving up on them. What kind of person would give up on someone who appreciates you and wants the best for you? We live in a selfish society. You found someone who was there for you, and you did that to them. This is just one of the many questions that will keep you awake at night. If you're considering doing this to someone you love, who am I to tell you not to do it? You might have your reasons, but know it will come after you when it's done, and the guilt is heavy on your shoulders. Story 10. Worst decision of my life. Will always be the one that got away. I totally deserved it, though. Typical mistake of mine, not knowing how good I had it until it was gone. Story 11. It wasn't easy, but it was the right decision. I met my wife 11 years later. I had lots of fun in between, and I am happily married now, so I would say it worked out well. Story 12. I know I'm a chick, but my ex of 6 years broke up with me after he cheated on me with a mutual friend. He said he wanted to know what else was out there. He messaged me 6 days before my wedding saying how it was the biggest mistake of his life and I'll always be the one that got away. Story 13. It went great at first. I went and did much crazier things with my life than I could do in good conscience while in a relationship. Travel, party all night, becoming friends and more with amazing people from all over the world. And I didn't have to explain a single thing to anyone. Then I met the next great girl, and all those habits and traits I developed in that time wound up eventually driving her off. Now, back to doing weird things with my life again after moving abroad, maybe in some vain attempt to get my mind off her. I sometimes wonder how things would have gone had I never left in the first place. I genuinely believe that I'm more successful, with more interesting experiences under my belt than I would have been otherwise. But happier? That's up for debate. I wouldn't break up with a girl solely over playing the field, but if you truly want to make a lot of big life decisions that your partner wouldn't make for themselves, I'd say certainly consider it. Story 14. It was a giant mess of drugs, sex, and alcohol, and basically looking for any approximation of the girl I broke up with. Turns out she missed me too. We ran into each other 7 years later. Our second son is due in May, and we're going on 9 years of marriage. So I'd wager it went pretty well. Story 15. Well, I dated a girl, and it was totally clear that we just worked. She was fun and loved many of the same things I did. She also pretended to love a lot of the things I did to make me happy. We dated for 6 months, talked about getting married, and I freaked out. I broke up with her to play the field. For years later, we started dating again and got married. Haha. Story 16. I broke up with a great girl and started dating an old ex who had cheated on me in the past. After getting back together, she joined the military 6 months later. I proposed to her after her graduation, and she cheated on me after she got stationed. I broke up with her and reconnected with the first girl years later. And we have been together for almost 3 years now and have a beautiful child together. In hindsight, I was foolish and playing the player card when I had everything I ever needed right in front of me the whole time. She made me feel so good about myself that I was confident and foolish enough to let my ego decide that maybe I was this amazing to every girl. Faulty thinking that made me hurt a special person for my own selfish reasons. Lesson learned. A cheater will never stop cheating on you. Story 17. Apparently you just know. And from my limited experience, that's true. You just know if that person is right for you. They may not stay right permanently. If there's doubt, then it probably isn't worthwhile unless you're a very passive person. Story 18. Met a girl almost 2 years ago. She was 18 and 7 years younger than me. Things were going really great, and we had the best chemistry I've had with anyone. We live about an hour apart, and things started to get rough when I got depressed after graduating and not getting work straight away. On top of that, she worked shifts during the summer and was constantly exhausted. Our communication started to break down, and I got so insecure regarding the age difference. I was sure we would grow apart. I decided that I needed to break things off. I was also getting a lot of interest from other girls at the time, and I thought I might as well explore other options. I had a couple of months of intensive dating, but never really found anyone that could match the chemistry I had with her, and always ended up comparing my dates with her. She still used to talk to me every now and then, and I knew that she deeply respected me and valued my input on things. We met up once after a couple of months, and I got the feeling that she still wanted to be with me. I asked her if she still had feelings for me, and she said no. A few months later, I got a job. I told her that we either have to make a clean break or get back together since she was taking up too much of my headspace. She confessed that she had been thinking a lot about getting back together with me. We are currently doing very well, and we're looking at options for moving in together that don't impact her studies and keep my travel time to work bearable. Story 19. I had some incredible experiences, met some great people and some unusual people, learned a lot more about sex, and improved my confidence in myself. The only downside is how hard it is to meet a compatible life partner whom you find attractive. Because of that, I don't know if it was a mistake. Probably wasn't, but I have a few moments where I'm not sure. Story 20. She was an amazing, outgoing, and just fun person to be around. My, at the time, young brain didn't realize what a catch she was. She's married with 3 kids now. I know she's beyond happy, so it's hard to regret it. Story 21. Broke things off with her 5 years ago. We decided to take a break and hit the reset button. So I thought I'd play the field, and then we would get back together. A month after the breakup, she calls me at work to tell me she got engaged. Since then, she's married with 1 kid and 1 on the way. I have had 2 friends with benefits, went on several dates, but am still looking for a girl half as good as the girl I left. Playing the field is fun, and I'm still having fun with different girls, but I would much rather have the family life that she's enjoying. I regretted it when it was Christmas, and I woke up alone in an apartment with no plans. I'm an idiot. Story 22. It went bad. Lost a great woman doing it. Then, found another great woman years later and dumped her for similar reasons. The difference in the second one is that she never gave up on me no matter how stupid I was. When I was finally ready to admit that I couldn't live without her, she was there waiting for me. Few men are this lucky. Story 23. It killed my confidence but allowed me to become a more complete person. There are days when I regret it immensely, but when I look at what I have done with the freedom that being single granted me, I view breaking up as an unpleasant necessity rather than something to wallow over. Story 24. My friend back in college was really into me. Looking back on it now, she was amazing. She liked the same music. She was pretty, humorous, and motivated in life. I came to realize later how hard that was to find. At the time, I was too picky, young, and stupid. I think she was a bit chatty or something benign, and I couldn't stand it because I was dumb. But anyway, we hung out one night and made out. I didn't want anything then, primarily because I wanted to try dating, and she understood. Fast forward a month or so, she hung out with us all, and another friend blabbed to the group that I had a date. She was not happy, and that date I went on ended up with me being in a gross relationship for a few months because I was afraid of being alone. After seeing my posts we made in my relationship on Facebook, my old friend unfriended me. We later made up and agreed to be pals. But then she disappeared again, and I haven't heard from her in years. I don't know if I am blocked for good or if she deleted her Facebook, but this was back in 2011, and I think about this situation quite often still. Story 25. My senior year of high school in 2017, I dated my best friend, whom I have known since 8th grade, and promised I would never hurt. 2 weeks later, I broke up with her so I wouldn't feel guilty about cheating on her with the 2 girls I had fooled around with before the relationship. Now all 3 of them hate me, and I regret hurting my best friend like that every day of my life. It still keeps me up at night to this day. Story 26. I broke up with my first real girlfriend right before going to college. She said no one would ever love me the way she did. which I believed for a couple of years. At college, I dated around, slept around, and had the stereotypical college experience. I hated the city and school I was in, so I transferred back home. I saw her a couple more times, but she was letting herself go and getting into drugs. I realized she was crazy all along, and I met my fiancée a couple of weeks later after ending it once and for all with her. Guess what? My fiancée loves me better than she ever did. Story 27. Great made me realize she wasn't great at all, and that my subconscious was right trying to get me out of there. Playing the field was great, and then found one I married. So yeah, major upgrade everywhere for me.